The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class, and welcome back to the number one Contender podcast, the show where your favorite nerds sit down and talk things I got tongue-tied again. This is 2 weeks in a row where I screwed up this intro. Where your favorite nerds talk all things movie, trivia, schmodown. I am your host, Jarod the Dark Jedi Bachman Subs, and joining me, as always, is the movie trivia schmodown champion of the world, Travis Black Leader Grossman.
That was harder than I thought it would be.
The can crack from behind the whiteboard was funny. Well, whenever we get into the matches, you'll be able to tell the story that was I got a hearty chuckle at work.
I gotta explain what this is at some point. But
yeah. But yeah, we got a good week of matches to cover for you guys as well.
We got a really good week of matches.
We had an incredible week. Yeah. And we also have an updated schedule that I think we will jump into now. Granted, a good chunk of this is already what happened. So, spoilers for this week. But the month of June will feature Andres Ace Cabrera of Swag against Thomas Harper of the Den. We knew this. Robert Parker versus Chance Ellison. That already happened. JTE versus Paul Preston. Ethan Irwin versus Paul Oyama. And then John Rocha versus Ben Bateman, which all happened this week. The tournament the schedule moving forward, we have Clee Wiggins of Corruption going up against Sabrina Ramirez of the Quirky Mercs in the singles division on June 10th. I almost said Doug Benson of the Usual Suspects will be going up against Chris Van Vliet of the Dungeon in singles on June 11th. We will also have our Star Wars finale as our finals.
I think we're missing a tournament match.
We are.
Yeah, we need Gold Leader.
Yeah, Gold Leader versus
Zach Burkett.
Yeah.
Happens probably sometime. Yeah, it probably happens this week.
Yeah.
That'll probably be. Is the 10th Thursday?
Yes. I want to say yes.
Okay, then
we'll probably get that on Wednesday then. Twitter so that I have that ready to fix when we are done. I'm awake. You know, that's one thing I really dislike about iPhones, like generally, is that for at least the way my brain would like process looking at my phone going off in the morning as an alarm, I can't shut it off in the way I feel like I should be able to. And what I end up doing is like snoozing my alarm all day. At a glance.
I got you. See, I'm always afraid because it's like you tap a thing to snooze it and slide to turn it off, I think, or it's reversed. Whatever it is, it flips in my head and I turn my alarms off by accident all the time. I used to set a thing where I had to solve a little puzzle to turn my alarm off.
I considered doing that to myself, and then I was like, I'm just going to get angry in the morning.
Yeah, that was when I needed to wake up, where I was like, oh, it's 8 o'clock, and I need to match these numbers or something. Okay, I'm awake.
Yeah, no, you're right. On the 9th,
okay,
which would be Wednesday.
Yeah,
we have Zach Burkett versus Gold Leader, June 10th. Thursday, Wiggins versus Ramirez. And then 11th, the Friday match will be Benson v. Vliet, however you pronounce his name. We'll find out whenever he says it himself.
Vliet.
And V8. And we'll have the Star Wars finals and Chandrew versus, now we know for sure, Robert the Spider Parker as a pay-per-view. The following week on June 16th, that will be on June 11th, will be that pay-per-view. June 16th will be Greg Alba versus Saul of the Quirky Mercs and the Den, respectively, in the Inner Geekdom. Griffin Newman is back of the Finstock Exchange, going head-to-head with Jacoby Bancroft of the Stars. We have Lon Harris versus Chance Ellison of Swag and then Corruption in singles on June 18th. And then number one contender interviewee, Frank Alvarez of the Usual Suspects, going up against Jessica Schloth of the Den in singles. We have a to-be-determined match. And then we have Mark Hayes of the Finstock Exchange going up against a returning Amaru Moses of the Usual Suspects in the IG. Finally get to see Amaru come back.
You said you said you have someone at work with the same last name as the Moose, right? And that's why you say it like that? Because his is Haas.
God damn it! I did it again.
Yeah, I noticed. I'm like, he did it again. I think he said he
because I called her Haas last night.
Nice,
son of a bitch. God, I'm just gonna keep screwing this up. There's going to be a singles number one contender shot on June 25th. That it looks like it's to be determined around the. I'm assuming it's the fallout from last night's pay-per-view.
I think so, yeah. Because whoever wins that plays Merle at Collision.
Yeah. And then June 25th, we have the fallout from last night's pay-per-view. That will be, pardon me, big time Ethan Irwin. Not big time, yeah?
Yeah.
Big time. I think that's the first time I think I've ever addressed him by his nickname, and it didn't sound right coming out of my mouth. But we got big time Ethan Irwin. Going up against Ben the Boss Bateman. And then also on that pay-per-view, we have the team's title shot of Shazam versus Corruption, also on June 25th. Which will take us into the Collision month, not knowing, I don't know what all we're going to have to look forward to here. This does kind of prove my theory from last week that like June is going to be a whole lot of setting the stage for a singles tournament and ironing out who all is going to be in pursuit of a belt at Collision. Because there's really only one title shot here, and that's for teams. And I don't know, that might mean there won't be a team's title shot at the Collision, potentially.
Yeah, I can't think
how late in the month the actual event is.
I can't think of who would have number one contender shot behind that,
outside of Paul Oyama, who may have other desires for that at this point. He is coming off of his loss last night, so there's a chance that he would want to use his number one contender shot in singles. Time will tell on that. Without further ado, we're going to get into the week's matches. Starting with our Star Wars match this week, Andres Ace Cabrera versus Tom Harper, the Major. This was a great match. This is a phenomenal Star Wars match. Both of them,
it is rare.
Absolutely.
It is rare that I agree with Harloff when he says, like, this is basically a pay-per-view match, but not pay-per-view. But he said it, I think, for all three not pay-per-view matches this week. He might not have said it for JT and Paul Preston, but, like,
he definitely did.
All three of them actually felt like that this week. Like, every single
you're
one,
not wrong.
Like, it was so good. You know, Harper really proving his stuff. I think coming out of this, I think Ace is the stronger Schmodown player. Harper is the stronger Star Wars trivia guy. Does that make sense?
I see what you mean there. I will say up top, Harper should have challenged that question.
Which question?
What 2-word phrase does Padme use to describe what Obi-Wan told her Anakin did?
I knew that one.
And again, assuming I have like the quote and like the phrasing right, Obi-Wan has told me you've done terrible things killing younglings. Like, she says terrible things and then killing younglings. Like, I feel like that question lives in the same house as the what does Lando calm down Nyan Numb about?
Yeah,
that's caused the big, we won, but we actually lost, but we won shit between Dimolanta and Damon.
Yeah.
Like, I think those two know each other. Again, and that's no shit talk or shade at PJ Campbell or anybody. Obviously they're working really hard on the questions. I just think this one was challengeable, and I think Thomas Harper could have picked up a point here.
He could have. I think if I'm Harper, I challenge it if Ace gets it and I don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I would have gone for it either way.
That's fair.
Personally.
That kind of just like that aggressive kind of play style that we're seeing it. I've noticed a lot this week, especially, but like just the past couple of weeks, a lot of players, like it isn't even to one faction, have been really aggressive with their JTEs.
Yeah.
Like beyond Danger Zone using all three in round one of their match with Corruption, right? Just a lot of people using one, sometimes even two in round one, especially blitzing him out in round two instead of going to multiple choice. And I think the idea there, first of all, it's weird seeing a game like this adapt, like having a kind of meta game. Because I don't think of that with Schmodown. But I think the idea
you have your fellow Magic player to blame for that one.
Yes, I do. I have cards next to me.
That is 100% the doing of Ben Bateman.
He's been doing this
about it.
He's been pressing this for a long time, but I think he's right. If you can put yourself ahead on points to make your opponent answer a 5-pointer first, I think that's the goal. I think even if it's only by 1 point, if you're ahead in round 3, then like assuming an even playing field of questions, your opponent has to answer their 5 first, meaning they have the first chance to muck up. The first real chance, right? Because like the 5-pointer is so deadly as a question, right? And also
we'll be talking about that.
I think also because the thing is, most people save it for the 5. They're like, we're going to get 45 seconds on our 5, and maybe we'll pull it.
Yeah.
I think it's smarter to do what people have been doing, because if we watch it all the time, they get the full 45 seconds on their 5 and still can't. Well, the question is just impossible. They just don't know it. Yeah. So I think it's worth trying to blitz out and just hope you know your 5, if you get there.
Yeah, it is a very interesting style of play. And again, like the weight of the 5 is something that has been discussed a lot lately, both on backstage, and we've had conversations about it. There's interesting play styles that are starting to emerge here that are, and all due to what people describe as, quote, Ben Bateman's Moneyball bullshit. But I'm quite fond of Moneyball bullshit. I would enjoy nothing more than to sit down with Ben Bateman, and him explain and like show me his whiteboard math.
That's the interview I need to be there for. is talking game mechanics with him for this. Because, like, again, I never thought of that with Schmoedown. Because I'm just like, oh yeah, it's just people answering trivia questions. Like the idea of gaming mechanics, like even some of the shit talk stuff, right? Like I get it, it's fun, it's wrestling, whatever. But like, you know, baiting them with the JTEs to get them into a false sense of security, using it in round 2 to avoid.
There's like a legitimate psychological element too, and Bateman talked about it in his post interview against Rocha.
I didn't watch the post interviews, so I should clarify.
Well,
so he said something.
He said something that's like kind of broaching on what you were saying with the shit talk, where he's like, love and respect Rocha. If Rocha misses a question and I'm up by even a little bit, that's where I'm going to start to taunt him because I know it's going to throw him off. Like Rocha in particular. Yeah. Like there are people that like you can spit game at. And granted, it's a little unfortunate. And, me personally, if someone's going to start speaking belligerently to me during a match, I'd rather it be somebody I'm friends with. I'd rather it be you than Joe Blow.
But also I think Bateman is even gaming the system that way. Where he's not just doing it. He knows he has like a set parameter he can do it in before they give him an official warning. And he will do it up until that point. Right? Like, I will do as much of this as I can until they tell me to stop. Officially stop. And then I have to stop. But by that point, I've done the damage. So, like, it's really impressive to watch how that's happening now.
Yeah.
And it's not even in a way that, it's not breaking the game. I don't think there's anything that needs fixed. But it's interesting watching players adapt, right? And I think it's going to come back to bite when someone like a Thomas Harper has to play a Damon, a Demolanta, a Laura Kelly, who are seasoned players that are probably training with other seasoned players to bring it back to Star Wars. They're now adapting to that strategy. They're working with the players that are forming the JTE early to avoid your 5-pointer.
And I think there's something very interesting there where, and again, a lot of this comes back to the game talk that Ben Bateman talked about and using the mechanics of the game in a certain way that you get this is very, oversimplified, but you get two generally types of players. You have people who do the tactical drops of JTEs, whose managers are coaching them to again, use your full time, drop the JTEs, throw a challenge out there if you think you can score an extra point, that are using these less as who are using things like their JTEs and the timer itself, using them less as resources and more as weapons in their arsenal. And there's the other type of player, and this is not to say that a player who is relying on strategery with the resources the game provides you. I said strategery on purpose for the record. That was a joke. It wasn't a joke I was expecting Travis to laugh at because he's numb to me saying strategery. But I needed to make it clear I wasn't Gucci. Yeah. Travis, I knew Travis understood it. Just for those of you at home, I just needed to make sure everybody knew I knew that wasn't a word. Because it occurred to me. They don't. The lovely listeners don't actually talk to me off air.
I expressed on the show that I think, because you mentioned Gucci for a second, I think the dossier and the dossier are two different documents. I think they're two different things.
I think you just cracked it wide open.
I had this that thought
this
weeks
is the
ago, and I kept
Build-A-Bear
forgetting to say
report.
it. Yeah. Anyway,
you brilliant bastard.
You were saying something about.
There's other players that, again, this is not an insult to people who do use these kinds of tactics because it's brilliant to do so. There are other players who are just so dominant they don't really have to.
Like a Merle.
Yeah, like a Merle. Well, I think also division-specific people. I don't think an Alex Damon needs to like strategically burn a JTE because 99.999999999% of the freaking questions in Star Wars, he could get it hung over with like a broken arm. You know, like you know what I mean? Like he could just like he could just pull, Otagunga. Like nobody,
I think we might start because we haven't really seen it in Star Wars specifically.
No.
I think I think that we'll start seeing it with Gold Leader. Finstock has been doing it a ton. Like that's been their bit. Besides Ben Bateman, Finstock Exchange has been like on notice doing that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if he's the one that like kicks it into gear in the Star Wars division. And I think that'll give him the difference between other rookies and any seasoned players who haven't adapted yet. Like anyone who isn't ready for that kind of play. Because the other thing too, I think this has gone into Star Wars, is if you have if you're up by 2 or 3 in round 1 and you can see that your opponent is like kind of squirming, they're like, oh man, I missed 3 points in that round 1 and they went perfect. Oh no. That's when you're like, I'm spinning first. I'm putting them in as much of a deficit as possible. I want them to freak out. And that's
there comes a point where you're absolutely right. It's almost like that. Like I wish I could come up with a Star Wars reference for it that's as brutal, but like it's that Doomsday punching Superman into the crater type shit.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, because again, in Star Wars, if you're down by 2 or 3, like that's a scary place to be in. That is a really scary place to be in. Star Wars is the most unforgiving division in the league. And,
for sure.
When you're down like that, no, never say never. Things can happen. People can shit the bed in round 3 rather, in standard play, that is, and lose control of the game, and you can come back. But like, if you're down by 2 or 3 in round 1, all you can do at that point is at least don't go out on a KO.
Yeah.
Like the least you can do is just like get up,
survive,
and like just try to stop the bleeding.
Survive.
Right?
Hope they get diarrhea. Like the standard play. And again, that's not to say they can't win, right? Like, and I think they were tied the whole game for Ace and Thomas, so it was like I don't think any of them were like suffering from any of this. They were in their own heads about themselves.
No,
but there was never any point for either of them to go like, I'm going to lose this match because I missed this question, So I think they had that going for them.
Yeah, they were missing together, and like I think there's nothing that can be more elating in a Star Wars match than watching the other. There's missing and then watching the other person miss.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because there's like okay, like I come back down to earth.
Okay, we both don't get a perfect round. That's fine,
Yeah. With regards to this match, I think Ace and Harper both put up a hell of a fight. Ace remains one of the most charismatic sons of bitches in this game.
I think Ace could climb his way to a belt this season.
He could. I will say, and again, no shade at question writers. I think it's hilarious there are 2 Star Wars matches in a row that have had questions about home 1.
I didn't notice. I mean, I remembered the one from this match. I didn't remember the one from last match.
Last week, there was something about the Moncala cruiser that Akbar is the commanding officer of. And then, like, they were phrased very differently. And, like, all I remember is that home 1 was an answer last week, and then home 1 came up again this week. And it was that, and again, and we had our rule book episode where we talked about like stuff like, then there's like a Scorsese example they give in the rule book.
Well, it's like who directed Jurassic Park versus Steven Spielberg. I got there. Yeah, I got there. Spielberg directed what movie about dinosaurs, right? Like those are two different questions technically. But
so they did the same thing with the home one question. I just thought it was funny that it happened back to back. And I'm also curious about the question curation from match to match. Not curious in like there's something specific, there's something suspicious.
But just like you want to
legitimately know. I want to know how they do it.
During the pay-per-view with the wheel bit, that had me curious. It was like, okay, so they do get a wheel in advance. I don't know how far in advance, but they are shown the wheel at some point before the match.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing they were, because then it was, they had the ability to go like, hey, that's incorrect. Please change it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, great match there. So, so Harper's moving on. And then this week
he'll be playing, he'll either be playing Gold Leader or I forget his name.
Zach Burkett.
Thank you. I was going to say Burkett, but I wasn't sure if that was right. My money goes to Gold Leader on that match, and then I don't know who gets it between Gold Leader and Harper. Both of them have been pitching perfect or near perfect games, Yeah,
no, it's going to be a Star Wars match for the ages. I've been putting off talking about this match for as long as I could. Robert Parker versus Chance Ellison.
At least it wasn't a blowout. Like Chance had a reasonable way to win.
They both played their hearts out. Like I can't complain.
Oh, yeah.
They both did an amazing job. I
think the way to put it is Chance is like the steadiest player in the Schmodown. He's always batting at least 90. I say batting like I know how baseball works, but he's always shooting it around the 90. And Parker is either at 100 or 75. And I think that's how he was last season. I think he's narrowed that gap. And he was shooting 100 this match. But I think they've gotten better about keeping him, because he's a player that is very susceptible to getting in his own head. Even if his opponent isn't trash talking him, we're like, he misses and suddenly it just dominoes.
That's going off of last year and like his performance up to this point, because I think he went perfect both against Brandon Hanna and here.
Yes.
It feels like Robert Parker is very much the type of player that once you pull on the thread, like if you can get the leg up on him a little bit,
that's when he falls apart.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened when he played. I mean, it almost happened in the match he played before Chance. I remember he missed a question. Like, it got stolen from him in the tournament. He still won. But, he was noticeably rattled for the rest of the match. And then when he played Chance, he missed something in round one, and that was it. Like, he did not recover from that. I think Kaiser's done a much better job of keeping him focused, because we saw in his match with Hanna, right? Like, even though he wasn't missing, Hanna was getting those questions that could be challenged with the misspellings and whatever. And Brandon had a challenge upheld, so we got an extra point. And then the second one came in and Parker was like, come on, this is wrong. And Kaiser had to come in and go, no, dude, calm down. You're getting points.
Yeah.
Stay on target. Don't worry about him. Just answer questions. And I think that's kind of the thing Kaiser needs to do, is just make sure he's there to go, hey, you're getting points. They'll miss. It's okay. You'll be fine. And he didn't need to do that last round. Yeah. Or last game. Interesting that they said they've been really focusing on the swashbuckling.
Yeah.
Which I don't blame them, because
I would be too.
Category. It's a new category, so it's fresh. The questions will be a little easier, and you can host somebody with it if they're not ready,
You can do that, and also I don't know, me personally, of the new categories, for me, that feels like the one I'm going to go all in on this.
Mm-hmm.
Because
for sure.
off the top of my head, like there's already 2 franchises that I would assume one would be incredibly familiar with within swashbuckling, right? Because you get indie and then you get pirates.
Yeah.
That are both
And
right
then,
there. We've gotten a
some
lot
reason-
of Zorro.
Yeah.
Like an ass load of fucking Zorro. So like, you know, start watching the Zorro movies and stay fresh on Indiana Jones and Pirates of the Caribbean. Like you're kind of down to clown with swashbuckling adventure at that point. Waiting to see if the Princess Bride is in there because like there haven't been any Princess Bride questions, and the idea that the Princess Bride does not end up under swashbuckling adventure in the inner geekdom, like I would like to have words with somebody about that.
Yeah, I mean, they could be holding those for singles. I don't know.
That just feels like I mean, I don't know. Maybe like the rule with IG right now is like either franchise or based off of like a popular like property or whatever. I don't know.
But I feel like that's not even. I'm trying to think of an example that defeats that, and I can't off the top of my head, but I'm sure it exists.
Like the only things that aren't like super franchisey would
like
be
the one-off 90s movies like The Phantom, The Spectre, whatever.
Rocketeer, Steel, shit like that. But like they're based off
Steel.
of comic books and other movies.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. I rarely have a reaction to a question that isn't the answer or like, oh, come on, I know this one. When they asked the New Mutants question, I audibly, like out loud, just went, fuck you.
I love that we both did it. That we both had the same exact reaction to New Mutants.
I was like, please don't. I refuse. Should I explain part of this now?
Please.
So I don't.
For those of you at home, by the way, Travis began the episode. For those of you listening to the audio version, behind Travis is one of his whiteboards that reads Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan.
No, it says The Wrath of J. Edgar.
Oh, I didn't see that. Okay. I just saw Wrath of, and then there was a glare on it.
I don't know. So I actually did get a Star Trek question last week. It was the Star Trek Beyond question. Because I've seen those. I've seen Into Darkness and Beyond and parts of the remake, like Star Trek. But if it's about anything other than those, I just say Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Because that's all I know. That's what I got. And I'd say it mostly as a joke. And so I just kind of like whispered it. I was in a truck moving boxes, right? So I'm like listening to the match, just in a roll, like, okay. Oh, Star Trek question? Uh-huh. Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. Whoa. Like did a little lap of like, yep, that's it. We're good for the week. I did it, folks.
You also hit a 5 this week in singles. Is the other thing that you were.
Fast forward to the pay-per-view last night. I'm watching it, and they get to Ethan Irwin's 5, and they're like, Leo. And I'm like, oh, it's probably about one of the Leo movies that I don't know. Like, I know about, but don't remember the names of. And they're like, who plays JFK in this whatever Leonardo DiCaprio movie? I'm like, that has to be J. Edgar. I can't think of another Leonardo DiCaprio movie that would have John F. Kennedy in it. And he's like, J. Edgar. I was like,
I'm so happy for you. I will say
I feel like that's an easier 5, though.
That is an easier 5. Here's what I will say with your Wrath of Khan pull this week. Nothing will ever top. I can't remember whom was playing. But it was you, me, and Alexis watching a match at your house. I think it was an IG match. And you got up to like go get yourself a drink or go do something, but you walked away from the living room and then just like you did the shoulder thing. You went Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and then you walked away. And then like I waited until you were out of earshot and I looked at her and I'm like, he's right. Like, it's not often I know a Star Trek question, but I know he's right. And waited for you to come back and then rewound the match. I've never seen the glint in your eye so bright.
Tupac was close.
Huh?
When I got Tupac randomly.
Oh yeah. Yeah, everybody in the Nerd Academy generally has their like, I'm just going to say this answer when we're watching and we don't know the answer to something. Levi kind of gave birth to it by answering every question with Vin Diesel. Even when we watch Star Wars matches, he'll just go Vin Diesel.
Yeah, fair. It's a fair answer.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I stand by Hot Patoctopussy, but which we'll never explain because it's just so fun to say. But yeah, no, Chance walked away with this with his head held high, and I can't blame him. Again, he played his heart out. He said it himself that Robert Parker is the kind of player that you can't give any leeway to because, he'll kind of. I'm very much looking forward to Chandrew versus Parker.
Yeah,
this is an interesting matchup and one that like either one of these guys like is going to make killer fight. So I'm excited to see what this means for the IG moving forward.
I think this will be the real proving ground to see if Parker has grown past his stumble and tumble bit, because Chandrew is exactly the kind of player that will leap on a missed question. He's big on the mind games. He's big on getting in people's heads. If Parker misses and Chandrew pounces, I don't know if Parker's going to be able to recover from that. It looks like he might be able to. I think if Kaiser can reel him in, despite it's one of those things where you're so upset, but if you can make yourself genuinely laugh, your mood gets better and you come back to it, right? I think that's kind of what Kaiser does, where he's like, I just have to get this kid to laugh. I just have to get him to crack a slight smile, and we're golden. So, oh my God,
mouth so much.
The Rocha bit last night. I was crying.
Because it was like 3 a.m. I had just come home from a very long night at work, and I was sipping on a grown-up drink while watching this match, and I may or may not have had a mixture of vodka and red cream soda go up my nose upon seeing that.
Uncomfortable.
It was very painful, but absolutely worth it because I think Kaiser made me pee a little. But yeah, no, I'm very excited to see what happens with the future of this rivalry between Chance and Robert Parker. Amazing matches on all sides there. Or amazing performances, that is. Paul Preston versus JTE. I am just going to say this. As a fan of JTE, as somebody who likes the Finstock Exchange as a whole, as someone who likes Gucci both as a character and as a manager, obviously Corruption's my favorite, but the Tom and his minions are up there for me. If I'm Dagnino and when we keep referencing the pay-per-view and we'll be talking about it soon, the way that Kaiser at the end of Ben's match this week was like, here's what we're studying the second you get out of this call.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that it would be out of character for Gucci to admit weakness on camera. So I'm not going to say he should have said the same thing that Kaiser did in front of everybody. But if I'm Tom Dagnino, we are having some intense study sessions with JTE because he's doing well. He's winning matches. He was doing a lot of he was the de facto stronger half a little bit of Rushmore. No disrespect to JTE. I've said before, he's one of my favorites. This is twice now we've had to rely on somebody shitting on their 5.
But I think that's part of his strategy. Honestly,
you think that's tactical?
Look, man, everything Finstock does is tactical to me. I think that they're, the secret geniuses orchestrating every rule in the book. I still stand by the spinning away from Spider-Man was a strategical choice, and not just we don't want to deal with Spider-Man. I think JTE, because he said it at the end of the match, right? JTE's the best at hitting 5s or whatever. I don't know if he was just saying that to blow smoke up his ass, but JTE's good at hitting 5s. So
he's great at hitting 5s, yeah.
And I think when that's your strong suit, you play to that. So you go, okay, if I'm like an 80% on my 5-pointers, I take the game to the 5-pointer. And then they're probably only 50-50, maybe even worse. So JTE, even if he's down by 4 going into round 3, that's enough leeway, right? That puts him 1 point over. That's fine. And again, that's assuming his opponent misses his 5. And if his opponent hits his 5, like, he tried his best, right? And that's only if you need to rely on that. Like, obviously do your best in round 1. But I think that helps him keep a level head. That, like, because first of all, coming off of Star Wars Inner Geekdom, was very confused when I was like, JT only missed 2. How is he at 6 points? Because I was like, there's 10 questions in round 1, right? There are.
Yeah, and again, there's no disrespect to JTE at all. I feel like that's a really risky strategy. Like, especially like what Harloff and Ellis were saying at the beginning of this match. This is that echelon of singles where, like, at any moment you're a couple match playing of matches away from number 1 contender and title shots. And, like, I don't want to sound disrespectful, because I respect all of these competitors so much and, appreciate them for making this an amazing show and sport a possibility. So I say this with love. I don't think this shit flies. I don't think this is a winnable strategy against a Dan Murrell, against an Adam Collins, against a Marisol McKee.
Oh, no.
Like,
not
like you need to be hitting this shit.
I think what it does, because, like, he's had perfect round 1s, in teams, in singles. Well, I don't know about in singles. He hasn't had it in singles. No, he did have it against Ben Goddard. He had a perfect round, right? I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but, like, but he needed to rely on Ben Goddard missing at the end. Like, he was losing to Ben during his match. I don't know when that deficit came to be, but he was losing during that match.
Yeah, but I think, like I said, it helps JT keep a level head. Where, like, he knows he has 4 points to work with within his opponent. Like, if we're going to break it down the numbers, he can be within 4 of his opponent going into round 3 and still be comfortable because he knows that he has a better chance of hitting his 5 than them. And yeah, that's not, like, the best strategy, but if that's how he stays level headed in the match and, like, doesn't freak himself out into more of a deficit, I think that's how he leverages his strengths as a player, because he is a stronger teams player. He's super focused in the stuff he knows. But I would say that the strategy works for now. I don't know that it holds up in a championship match. Like, if he's playing Merle, if he's playing Collins, if he's playing a Bateman that can get in his head, right? I don't know how well that holds up. But for now, I think it's viable.
For now, if I'm Gucci, one of my big things is, like, making sure that we don't have to rely on JTE, like, throwing a big right hook at the very end. Other than that, amazing gameplay from everybody. There's some really impressive questions there. Moving on to the pay-per-view last night, Ethan Irwin versus Paul Oyama. We've been talking about the pay-per-view a lot on and off this entire show, but great match, impressive showing from Ethan Irwin. It like
should have gotten that right wheel.
Listen, man, there's something about Ethan Irwin that like seeing him laid back in a match is so goddamn intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Like there is just like a coolness to him that like I don't know, like he's a scary competitor, and he does it without like being intense in the match. Like he's just kind of there to have fun. Like he's making the joke about like, oh well, hey, I can tell you the story about it, and it's like he doesn't it's like his mind's in like bar trivia mode almost.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he's just so intimidating and just so laid back, and it's impressive.
Yeah, I think this match comes down more to Oyama making a mistake. And I like him a lot.
Yeah.
I want to see him play for a belt soon. He should have spun away from movie release dates.
I agree.
Like I don't think that's something you risk a small lead, because he said when he stopped there, he was like, okay, I'm within 5 because I got that steal, so I only need to hit like 6 and him not hit 2 off the steal, whatever. I can work with that. I don't think you do that with movie release dates. I think you do that with something. Movie release dates is way too volatile, right? We've seen that with the movie release dates guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like Ben Bateman can get thrown off by this shit. So, yeah, I think it was not the best decision, but hindsight.
Yeah, absolutely. We have the added benefit of being able to look back on the match. I don't know. Whenever the stakes are this high, something like movie release dates seems a little terrifying. Like unless it is a category that you are just swollen.
Unless you're Ben Bateman, right?
Unless you're Ben Bateman or a Scott Mance or somebody else who can like make their way through movie release. Like movie release dates is the kind of category that like I can't imagine somebody subjecting themselves to, aside from Bateman or Scott Mance. And Scott isn't even in like current Schmodown anymore. For your consideration, is a good podcast though. So I agree with you completely, and you took the words right out of my mouth. Keeping release dates was probably the death blow there. But no, yeah, I mean, Paul did a great job, and like let's call it what it is. Paul, the stakes are the stakes here for Paul Oyama are not the same stakes that Ethan Irwin is playing at right now.
That's true.
Like Paul Oyama can just turn back the hands of time at any moment this season and just go, oh, hey, what if I beat Ethan Irwin? Okay, I want the belt now. He can drop that bomb whenever the hell he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't necessarily say that like, oh no, like I can't blame him for taking a risk because he knows that he can right now.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I think he'd be a fool if he didn't. I think he'd be a fool if he wasn't playing a little bit more aggressively.
I think the aggressive pick would have been to spin again. I think it would have been aggressive to go for something he knows better. But
aggressive in that like going for it. I mean, like swinging for the fences in that moment on a tough category.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it gave him the freedom to play a little looser. Not that he was, he still played great. It's just like in that category, it got kind of rough, and like that's just what's going to happen. So,
yeah,
he will probably cash that number 1 contender shot in at some point later this season.
I agree with you. No, it's a title shot.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
The thing he has. He will
That
use
was
it
less
later.
to correct. That was less to correct you, and more to clarify for listener. I apologize. That felt mean. I apologize. I love you.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, moving on to our last match of the week, and an incredible one. John, the Outlaw Rocha, going up against Ben, the Boss Bateman. Did you watch the promo?
No.
So good. It might be my favorite promo of the season so far.
You mean like the Nerd Chronic one?
Huh? Yeah.
You like the? No, I didn't watch it, but
It was such a good promo. I also just got a notification. So, okay, real quick side story. I went on a rampage yesterday. I ordered a shitload of new records. Okay, you know how I was complaining about how I kept finding like To Pimp a Butterfly and like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and like Tyler the Creator albums that I liked that were all like hundreds of dollars because they were all out of print. I found a copy of To Pimp a Butterfly for $23 yesterday. Same with My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and Flower Boy and Igor. Like, I went ape shit because I was like, I'm not going to find this for this cheap ever again.
yeah.
And like, for those of you at home who haven't been subjugated or subject to me just gushing over Kendrick Lamar, one of my favorite artists of all time, and To Pimp a Butterfly is going to be one of the crown jewels for my vinyl collection. But anyhow, I just got the notification that it shipped. No, I was so blown away by Bateman and Rocha's performances here. I think that, you know, we've kind of been hyping up Bateman a lot this week, and it's no secret Rocha is in my top 3 to 5 players of all time.
We've been hyping up Bateman, but like for transparency, we were texting like when the live event went up, neither of us could watch it right away. And
yeah,
we were texting like, and I said like, I want Bateman to win, but my money's on Rocha. I think Rocha's been the stronger player this season. But we also haven't seen Bateman do a ton in singles, right?
Well, here's what I was going to say with this, you know, and yeah, and like I was saying, like, you know, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, but I also think Rocha going up against Merle at the Collision would be more interesting, like for the story. And I hope that still happens at some point here, but nothing but respect for these guys. The 2 biggest teams to enter the league this year were Rushmore and Danger Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Two teams that have very personal rivalries, who very much are the, you know, unstoppable force, immovable objects of the league, hurtling towards each other at all times. Rocha and Bateman were kind of the weaker links of both of those teams. And both of them caught shit from the fans for being the not as powerful member of the team in certain matches. Now, again, that's the nature of teams, is that when you have 2 people, one is likely going to outperform the other one just by virtue of how situational the showdown can be. And I don't put a whole lot of weight into that. But it does not change the fact that that was kind of the nature of this matchup. So I was very excited to see these 2 go head to head. They're 2 of my favorites. I was blown away. Like they both, they didn't go perfect for the game, but like they mirrored each other's play completely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I can't say perfect, but like near. And the fact that
I think they both went to their 5 and missed their 5.
Yeah, both missed their 5 and then shared a miss in sudden death, and then there was like the final blow. Right. But yeah, I just spent the entire time watching the match just like sighing with a smile on my face, where I'm like, this is why I freaking love these two competitors.
And I think it's because from the teams they were on, they weren't the team. Like, not that Dan Murrell is necessarily a teams player, but they weren't the teams players, right? Like, Danger Zone is two of the strongest singles players just put on a team together. Like, they're trying to add their force together. I think Rocha and JTE tend to multiply. It's just that Rocha's like, I mean, they're both like kind of not on the same level as Bateman and Murrell, but JT is just such a strong teams player that it pulls them up. Like Rocha, it's almost akin to Kalinowski and Chance.
Yeah.
Where, Mike isn't the strongest not Intergeekdom player. He's passable. He does well, but he has the ability to rely on chance to pull them to a point where they can win. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'll say with Kalinowski, like he's very much the type of player that
I think
his performance in non-IG stuff suffers while he's focused on IG.
For sure.
Like,
let's say though, we're in a point now where he's a lot higher. Like corruption has gotten a huge boost.
Yeah.
Because of the prevalence of IG slices in singles, like being able to do that.
Yeah.
Is just nuts.
I think that Mike, let's create a situation here where Kalinowski, and this is like tangential, and I'll be quick about this. Like, let's say Kalinowski is in a situation where like IG belt is his, it's secure, and there's not going to be a title shot for maybe like a month and a half.
Oh yeah,
no action
I think
there, and he's able to be like full like mainline singles and teams. He's a monster.
Yeah, I'm not saying that to diss him or like knock him.
I know that.
That like, well, and I'm saying that like it's a proven formula. We know it works.
Yeah,
they've been belted twice. Rushmore, I'm sure will have a belt at some point in the near future, right? Like that, they're insane. Yeah. But corruption has a good chance at beating Shazam at the end of the month.
Yep.
That's just true. And especially because Mike doesn't have to worry for a month about who's going to be playing him for the IG belt. He can just focus directly on that. I think it's kind of the same thing. Like now Bateman and Rocha both weren't focused on trying to do teams. Which isn't like, in terms of trivia, it isn't that different, but you can focus up the wheel more to what you like. You can focus in on like, your individual strategy. Bateman kept trying to force how he plays onto Merle and it wasn't really working.
Yeah.
Right. But when he's by himself, it's potent, just,
he can do the Moneyball bullshit.
Trying to bait your opponent into a false sense of security, and then that sudden flip of like, oh, he did have it. Oh no, what do I have to answer questions now? Oh shit. So, like being able to do that on his own with the knowledge he has, right? Like he, perfect round 2, perfect round 1. Just, I think that. I don't know where I was going with this. They're both stronger in singles than teams. That's where I was going with this.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And again, this is such a great match.
I also like Rocha's in Rocha's during Bateman's round 2 and his 5-pointer, Rocha kicking his feet up and putting the hat on and like napping. I thought that was hilarious.
I thought, okay, so that's interesting because I got a completely different read on that. I thought when he was, I know he does the napping thing during round 2. Whenever Bateman was going for his 5, I thought Rocha was just kind of like resigning himself to like the finishing blow.
No, I think it's just that
I was like for a second there.
Regardless of, we keep talking over each other. regardless of what happened, he knew he was going to be there for like 45 seconds. So he might as well kick his feet up and relax. Because it's Bateman, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I guess like I was so focused on Bateman during his round 2 and watching him that like it kind of slipped my mind that Rocha was doing the, howdy bitch. But yeah, I will say I did get the Angry Birds question. But that is just because I am a Jason Sudeikis stan, if you will. Highly underrated performer he is. But yeah, this is an incredible match, and I'm looking forward to Bateman versus Ethan Irwin. Like,
that's going to be interesting.
It's such an interesting matchup because, like, for a hot second opposites. They're polar opposites. And I don't know. There was a part of me that once Ethan Irwin won, and I was thinking that I'm like, okay, like I do want Rocha to win because I want this to be Rocha versus Bateman at Collision. And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, I kind of don't want to watch Ethan Irwin versus John Rocha again. Not because I dislike any of those players, just because it's a matchup I feel like we've seen 800 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it's been like maybe 2 or 3 times, but like still, like there's such huge omnipresent players, they so incredibly dominant that like I'm like, okay, like I've seen you two go at it, and there isn't like a rivalry here so much as it's like you guys are just really well matched for each other. Like I want to see a different matchup. So we're getting that. We're getting 2 people who have been in the league for approximately the same amount of time that haven't crossed paths yet. And the fact that we still have that is incredible. That there are these high tier players who just can't seem to, end up going head to head.
Which is funny because they're both always on the fast track to the belt. Like, I feel like Ethan Irwin is always, like, a match away from a number 1 contender shot. Like, when he shows up, like, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm playing for the belt again. Hi.
Yeah.
Surprise.
It's like, Orloff and Ellis are just like, and, hey, Dan, I hope you're free at 3 o'clock. Ethan Irwin's here for his bi-weekly Thursday title shot.
It's like, oh, it's the end of the financial quarter. Irwin, get in here.
Yeah, hey,
you know what time it is, buddy? Come here.
That's funny, but yeah, I was absolutely blown away by this match. Could have watched it forever. I like what did Kaiser call Rocha? Because he like made up a new name.
Yeah,
because he was like
John Finstock.
John Finstock.
But that's what he was the first time when he had the fake, like the beard thing on. He was making fun of Gucci, and then I forget what he said his name was when he was making fun of Rocha. But
oh my god, listen. Just generally, I like seeing Kaiser like mockingly cosplay other managers. All I'm going to say is I cannot wait for the next time there's a Dungeon versus Corruption match.
I mean,
because I want to see
pumping gas joke was pretty good.
The pumping gas joke, I almost spit. No, here's what I want. I want Kaiser to like take a red Sharpie and to a flipped inside out, so it's the white part out Burger King crown.
Please.
And like have like a full fucking face of makeup, like full glam, and like have like a stuffed animal dog sitting in his lap, and like a sock puppet with a like holding a lollipop in his hand. Like there's like the opportunity to go in on Shannon and Mike is endless, and like that's the faction like that's my home team, that's my favorite player, and I'm like, please go for it. Good God, Kaiser, please Please, for the love of Christ, do it. I love it so much. This is a great match and an excellent character work from Kaiser. But yeah, I think that's all we have this week. I'm amazing. This is just we keep saying it. It was an amazing week of trivia this week.
Oh,
it's phenomenal. June is off to a remarkable start. Before we leave you guys, Clee Wiggins versus Sabrina Ramirez. Who you got?
I guess Ramirez.
Okay.
I don't know either of them. So, really quick,
I am going
goal
Clee
leader.
Wiggins.
Yeah.
I think gold leader.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too.
We got Bug Denson. Shut fuck damn Doug Benson. I was thinking don't say it.
Do it.
It was stuck in my head. I was looking at it. I thought and wondered myself because I kept thinking about it.
What if his title is Doug the Bug Benson?
Oh my God. I'm done.
I hope it is. I know it's not, but I hope it is.
If he calls himself the Bug, I refuse to cover the match. I'm not talking about it. And I'm angry that I
needed just
psyched myself into saying Bug Denson. I'm angry that I thought about it so hard that I did it.
I need to see what happens if Christian Harloff has to officiate a match for Doug the Bug Benson. I had to pause to make sure I did it right.
And now we go to the 5-pointer for the Bug. If the Bug hits this. But no, yeah. These are both rookies.
Yeah, so I guess I'm cheering for the dungeon. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
I cannot afford to let the dungeon pick up any more points. So throw a bone to the suspects.
Because there's a chance they have a free 7 coming up at Collision. So
yeah,
if Bateman gets the number 1 contender shot, it's the same thing as last year, only for the dungeon this time.
Oh, hopefully it is just as dysfunctional. It won't
I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
Well, dysfunctional in a different direction. And it'll be dysfunctional because it'll be dysfunction and it'll be bedlam, but it won't be like like the egos are running high and people are threatening to leave factions and shit. You know what I hope happens? You know, I think would be really adorable. I hope Mara gets to manage for Dan.
That'd be so cute.
I hope that. I hope that's how that goes down. If it ends up being Bateman and Merle,
that reminds me. The phone call bit in the Star Wars match, or not the Star Wars, the Paul Preston match.
Yeah,
hilarious. 1, 2. Are they allowed to mute themselves and have a phone call? Is that something they're allowed to do? Like if they had actually muted themselves and done a phone call.
I don't think so.
Okay. I didn't think so either. But that's some shit. Like that's something I could see like a Finstock doing. I could see them being like, hey, I got something to tell you. Okay. You know?
I'm not sure. Because it's regular studio play. It's in I don't think that the commentators or the other players can necessarily hear what the managers are saying. So in theory, you can just, hey, I don't care. Avoid movie release dates at all costs.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but I agree. That bit was incredible. I loved it, every second of it. Star Wars tournament finale finals. Why do I keep saying finale? We don't know what it will be quite yet, but I think if we're right, I think Harper can take gold leader.
I think so too.
I think he can take him. And then our last match for next week.
I think he goes to sudden death. If it's the two, though, I think it goes to sudden death again. but I think that's where Harper's the strongest. Because that's when it's just raw trivia, right? That's when he's like, I just have to hit questions. I'm not worried about points or anything. I just have to get these right. Cool. Done.
Yeah.
So,
last match for next week, Chandrew V Parker.
I mean, obviously I'm rooting for Parker.
Yeah.
Again, I think this is going to be the real proving ground for Parker, right? Like if he can survive Chandrew, I think he's got a good shot against Mike then. And I think that shows that he has grown past what happened last season.
Yeah.
He's also proven to be stronger than Chandrew in this new format. Not that Chandrew is bad.
He's just been more successful thus far than Chandrew has.
Granted, Chandrew's only had the one match where he still played phenomenal.
Yeah.
Under more pressure.
The inaugural match of the new IG as well.
So I don't think necessarily that's enough to be like, oh yeah, Chandrew's bad at this new format. But like, I think Parker has shown that he has not been hindered by it for sure. So I'd say it's probably 50-50, but I'm going to lean to Parker because I want him to win. You know?
I honestly can't make a call. It's too close. I don't even know which side to land on here.
I might even favor Chandrew a little bit. Like, emotions aside, I might say it's like a 60-40, like a 55-45-ish, just because of Chandrew's play style. And like, now that we know he's okay with, whatever aside, he's okay with Winston, and Winston's cool with letting him do whatever he wants in the match. I feel like Chandrew's another one of those players that would use the official warning as a metric. Like he would game that to his advantage.
I will say, like, it seems kind of simple and like, no shit Sherlock. But Parker said it himself, where they were like, my strategy is to not miss questions. Like, if he doesn't miss any questions, I don't think there's anything Chandrew can do to mess with him. But like, if he does, then Chandrew's going to be like, oh hey, where'd the perfect round go? And start ribbing him. And then again, like I said,
sure.
I think Parker, based off his performance last year, this could have changed by now. But like, you pull that thread and everything's going to start to fall apart.
Yeah, but I think Chandrew has the ability to do that even if he doesn't have a lead, right? Like, depending on who gets the pick for round 2 first, right? If they're tied, and I don't know how that's going to shake up if Chandrew's the higher ranked player or not. I think he is. He'll get to decide, and he has the opportunity there to be like, I'll let you make the first mistake. Go ahead. Or, actually, yeah, that's what he would do. He wouldn't go first.
No, you're right. Smarter. I agree with you.
That's smarter. Because if he goes, like, he knows pressuring him that way won't work. So pressuring him with the, like, you'll be the first to make a mistake. Like, even if I make one in my round, it doesn't matter. You'll be the first to fuck up.
Yeah.
Do it. Miss. I dare you. Right? So I think that'll be enough. Not enough, like it's going to completely rattle him, but like that, like he has the ability to work within.
He can set the stage to start the mental games.
Right. Like he doesn't need to have a lead. He doesn't need to be, have Robert missing questions. Like, he doesn't need to be down 3 in round 1. It could be tied in a perfect game and he still has it, So
yeah, I agree. It's going to be interesting stuff. Quick announcement before we leave you guys this week. Travis and I have a very exciting interview coming up that will be going up on, let me check the date so I have this correct. It will be going up on Wednesday the 9th. However, I plan on, for our $10 patrons, uploading it to Patreon the night when we actually record it. So if you're a $10 patron, stuff like this that we just, because we have to wait a little bit so that we don't have our own shows competing with each other. I'm going to start putting that up on the Patreon for you guys to get a little nibble at. We are going to be sitting down with the Cobra himself. Chance Ellison is going to be stopping by, number one contender, to talk movie trivia showdown, of course. So stay tuned for that. We got some really fun content planned for you guys on the horizon, and we cannot wait to share it with you. But be sure to come on back on Wednesday if you are not a patron, or consider joining the Patreon at the $10 tier, and you will get that a few days early. With that, Travis, where can the lovely people find you, my friend?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Travis Political. Maybe at some point discussing my recent outing to the dentist. And probably not on Twitch for a little bit, just because I want to make sure this is all good to go. But,
can't blame you for that.
I'm on a lot of ibuprofen.
He's off the prof, guys. He's off the prof right now.
Jarod.
Yes.
Where?
I was going to say, for audio listeners, Travis wrote where on his whiteboard. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TarkJedi2552. And you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where, if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus who will be getting that interview early, as well as Campus Life and Movie Club, Case and Brion, The Waffle Wizard, Delta 9, and Zach Announce. You guys help us make the content that we love to produce. Be sure to also consider the $5 tier, where you get access to our Nerd Academy or our Nerd Academy Patreon exclusive shows, the KNR Versus series, which will be having another upload to it. That'll be our June episode, and we'll be completely caught up on the Versus series. We're getting back to work on Heroic History. I'm almost done with 3 Jokers, and whenever Travis's face is feeling better, we can worry about that more. But I'm not going to bug him while his face is in disarray. But a beautiful face it still is. You also get the audio commentary tracks for Movie Club on the $5 tier. We are finally all wrapped up with Star Wars month, and Devin did not like Return of the Jedi, and it really upset me. And listen, I keep saying that there's a moment from Devin from Star Wars month that is worth $5. Devin hearing so what I told you was true from a certain point of view for the first time in front of a hot microphone. Hearing it is funny. And I said, I never wanted to do video versions of the audio commentaries. I felt like that was kind of counterintuitive to do it that way. However, oh boy, do I wish I had a camera on Devin's face for when Obi-Wan said that shit. That was hilarious. His eyes turned black, and Devin wasn't into Return of the Jedi as much as he was the other 2 movies, and I was disappointed because,
to be fair, it is the weakest of the original trilogy.
I understand that criticism and completely disagree with it, but I understand why people feel that way. And the review, the conversation we have in the review,
it's like the difference between an A and an A minus. Calm down.
I know. No, I know. I'm calm. I understand that take, and I'm not necessarily
it's a 95 to
wrong.
a 90. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, well, the conversation we had was that the things that bring Jedi down for most people, and the reason why for me it's my favorite of the OT is that I feel like there's a weird bell curve with Return of the Jedi that the people who have the most critiques of it don't fall into general moviegoer where it's turn off my brain, space wizards and spaceships, or people who were so incredibly entrenched into Star Wars where so much of the dumb shit we're just numb to. either because we've just been just like it's a given, or like there's like this like galaxy brain like acceptance of everything to do with the Force that you can make sense of everything that's happening. And that in the middle there with the people who are like aren't super into it, you have like hardcore movie buffs, people who like go into these movies who are like, yeah, Star Wars, like the original Star Wars trilogy is really good. And like they can't name the members of the band at Jabba's palace because they're normal people.
Yeah.
So like, and that was kind of like the fun conversation we have in the review of like the hardcore fan who like, you know, I don't flinch at what I told you was true from a certain point of view anymore because I've just accepted it's bullshit and love it for its bullshittery. Yeah. Devin does not like Luke throwing away his lightsaber to face the Emperor. And that is like the big sticking point that causes like the big conversation that I will
Of all
tease everybody
things,
with.
really.
He was very like was like Luke is being flagrantly irresponsible. He's like I don't care what moral bullshit you're on right now. Kill him.
I guess. But now now I'm because like we don't have time for this, but that's different. That's not where I thought his problem was going to be, but that's fine.
Yeah, we also were making fun of the fact that the first act doesn't make any sense.
Not at all.
Not at all. Like Luke's plan is just so. Anyway, not the show, not the right show. But yeah, so stay tuned for that. Also, Indiana Jones month starting in June for Movie Club. So without further ado, thank you all so very much for watching or listening. Be sure to comment, share, subscribe, smash cancer, and goodbye.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!